All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's get straight into it.
Again, into our featured story. I don't know about you guys, but I'm bored with winning. I am absolutely sick and tired. I am disgusted with all the winning that is going on. Our featured story tonight is all about Tom Homan, who announced at a press conference this morning that the ICE surge in Minneapolis is concluded. It's over. He got up today and said that the surge of thousands of Border Patrol and ICE agents is now officially done. And after they initially withdrew 700 agents last week, they're now withdrawing the rest of the agents. And it's over. And this is the story. This is from the Washington Post. It says, quote, Border Czar Tom Homan declared an end to Operation Metro Surge in Minnesota following widespread protests against immigration raids that led to the fatal shooting of 2 American citizens by ICE agents. Homan alleged the operation led to more than 4,000 arrests since it began on December 1st and said it targeted serious offenders in an effort to improve public safety. 4,000 arrests in 77 days. You know how many that is per day? 55. Okay? So all of that for that. Think about it. We deployed, 7,000 ICE and Border Patrol agents into Minneapolis. They were conducting patrols and neighborhood sweeps, and they were doing targeted enforcement. And there were riots and protests, and Targets are getting blown up, and Marriotts are getting torn down, and it's anarchy in the streets, and 2 Americans are, and ICE agents are getting beaten to death with shovels.
You know, it's like when I first saw that they were targeting the Hilton, I thought it was because Paris Hilton's participation in that AI porn ban. You know, people were mad about that, I guess, and they're taking their anger out on Paris Hilton.
All of that for 55 arrests per day. 55.
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolute joke. Like, how can you say this is mass deportations? I just hate seeing all these MAGA shills on Twitter. Golden age, we're winning, sick of winning. It's absolutely pathetic. How do you even look at these numbers? The most, I would say, up-to-date numbers, it's like, what, 235,000 people were deported in 2025? That's like nothing compared to Obama. Like, Obama deported way more people, dude.
Okay. Now, in 2025, on average, ICE arrested about 1,000 people per day, and that gave us just around 350,000 arrests for the year. 230,000 removals. Okay? So last year, we did, 1,000 arrests per day, maybe 600 deportations per day. This was 55. Double digits. 55 arrests per day. And this was the biggest surge of ICE and Border Patrol in any city to date. The biggest surge, the biggest operation, Commander Bovino, Commander Homan in Minneapolis. Oh, we're going in. If you're illegal, you better go home. 55 per day. A grand total of 4,000 in 80 days. 4,000 in 80 days. Dude, it should be 4,000 every day.
I mean, I'm pretty sure to get to the point where we want to remove that, like, millions of people and get back to a country that we used to be, it would have to be around 4,000 to 10,000 people per day.
It should be 4,000 per day, not 4,000 in 2.5 months. And that's your biggest operation since Trump got into office, and now it's over. Okay? Just for context, these are the numbers. The article goes on, it says, Homan's announcement came 2 weeks after Trump officials removed Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino, who had been leading the operation. Homan said the operation was ending because Ellison had agreed that state and local jails might work with ICE to detain and deport immigrants who have been arrested for crimes. He said officials may notify officers about an immigrant's imminent release and allow them to make arrests inside jails instead of on the street. Minnesota officials have said they already communicate with ICE and facilitate the transfer of serious offenders from state prisons. So just so you understand what that is, we'll explain it a little bit more in a minute, but what they're describing, they're saying that ICE is leaving the city because now if someone gets arrested for murder and they go to jail, the police will give that person to ICE. So they're saying, we don't need 5,000 ICE agents in the city because now we have an agreement where if someone gets arrested for a horrible, violent crime, well, then they'll just get turned over to ICE. And this is a relief. This is supposed to be good news. That's an Obama-era policy. That should already be happening. That is already happening. That's a given. Of course, if someone gets arrested for a violent murder, they get deported. Of course, they get turned over to ICE. That's the status quo. They already do that. But more on that in a moment.
Yeah, it's like, what we're talking about is the tens and tens of millions of people that are quote-unquote non-criminal. Yeah, you broke the law by coming into the country illegally. Like, I would never think, as a Westerner, as a Canadian, I'm going to go to China and I'm going to overstay my visa and I should just be allowed to do that and grant me asylum and citizenship. Like, insane. And not only that, but give me a bunch of free shit on top of that. Like, that's how crazy these people are, bro. Like, watch some documentaries following these people that come on migrant trails from Africa and Latin America and Asia. They know that the American, the UK, French, Canadian governments, they give you free stuff. They want you to come here.
It says Homan acknowledged internal failures in Operation Metro Surge, noting he increased internal affairs presence in Minnesota and informed officers there is zero tolerance for misconduct. He also said he required Border Patrol agents to embed with ICE officers who have more experience with internal enforcement and issued body-worn cameras to officers. In a sign of fissures in Trump's camp, Homan acknowledged the hate from some Republicans who want the president to keep his pledge to deport undocumented immigrants regardless of their criminal history. Homan said, "Oh, we are, but we're prioritizing those who are the biggest threat to our community, the rapists, the murderers, child molesters. That's the right thing to do." So Republicans are unhappy, saying we want every illegal immigrant deported. And Tom Homan said, oh, we're definitely going to deport everybody, but first we're going to do this targeted enforcement. Just one problem. Washington Post says that approach would not enable Trump to deport millions as he and Miller have promised. More than 11 million unlawful immigrants reside in the United States. As of mid-2024, fewer than 700,000 immigrants had criminal histories. Okay? So let me paint a picture for you about this administration. It is 2026. We are entering the second year of this administration. And this mass deportation thing, it is already finished.
Wouldn't it just be a given that if you have this population of immigrants, that they're going to protect the criminals? And we already know this, that migrant communities, they already protect the criminals that live within them. Everyone knows this. There's no snitching. People, it's mi familia, so you're not going to, tell on each other. And there's a culture of fear. All these criminals, too, they're connected to the smugglers that people owe debts to, so they're not going to do anything. In fact, they're going to help people hide from ICE, hide from the cops. So you have to really look at the millions of quote unquote non-criminal aliens as they're just literally helping out criminals. That's what they're doing.
It's already cooked. It's over. Think about it. Trump deploys the biggest surge of immigration enforcement personnel to Minneapolis to date. You've got thousands and thousands and thousands of ICE, Border Patrol. I believe there were even a few hundred National Guard at one point. And they deploy in Minneapolis, remember, in response to the fraud which was discovered in the Somali community, that Somalians were stealing upwards of $8 billion in government money for these fraudulent nonprofits and programs. And so in response to this discovery, this is supposed to be a showcase. This is supposed to be a demonstration of force. It's not strictly about the numbers. It's also about establishing a precedent. Think about it. You have this YouTuber that goes in and he finds out that all of these Somali daycares and nonprofits are a front. This is a fraud operation, and they are defrauding the taxpayer out of billions and billions of dollars for fake food nonprofits and for disabled people and homeless and everything you can think of.
The fraud in Canada is absolutely off the chain, dude. Like, food banks are, if you go on YouTube and you type in food banks Canada Hindi, you will find just absolutely like wall-to-wall content from Indians that are like, hey, like, if you're a migrant, you can just get free food from the food bank. You don't have to pay for groceries. Just go get all the free food you want. It's like, dude, that's literally for homeless people. This is literally for like the poorest of our society. And some guy, some guy from like Punjab region is like, oh, well, I just get free food. And it's like, no, dude, no, you don't actually.
And so Trump, in the spirit of mass deportations and law and order, deploys a small army of ICE, Border Patrol, National Guard to get to the bottom of it and deport these people. And again, it's not just about the numbers, it's about sending a message. And the message is, this is Trump's America. And in Trump's America, we are going to protect the integrity of our system. And that means not just our immigration laws, but also the public dole, also the tax base. Because after all, why would anybody pay taxes if it's just being taken and given knowingly to people that shouldn't even be here so that they can buy luxury cars or give it to people in Somalia? Because
there's so many little scams people don't even know about. Like the clothing donation bins that you'll find oftentimes around like big cities and stuff like that are quote unquote charity clothing donation bins. Those are complete scams. You shouldn't donate your clothes to any of those. They literally take the clothes that you think you're sending to them to, that kids in poverty are going to get them or whatever. No, they get resold and they get sold in the third world.
That's what's going on. People are paying taxes and the government knows it's fraudulent, but they're making the payments anyway. And these foreigners are taking that money and they're buying luxury goods, and they are sending it back in the form of remittances and who knows, other kinds of corruption to their homeboys in Mogadishu. So Trump goes in to say, we are bringing it and we don't play around. And this is what happens if you with America. If you break the laws, we are going to come down on you very hard. Okay. Well, Trump goes out there and again, they're not even doing anything. Okay. And this is something that needs to be acknowledged at the beginning. They're doing all of this. And, if we back it up to where we were back in December, realize they're not even doing anything. There's this big show of force, but that's really all it is. It's just a show. They have DHS investigations going door to door for the cameras, so they can post on social media, so they can tell the public, hey, we're doing something about it. They're not getting to the bottom of anything. They're not really making any arrests. They're not uncovering any huge scandal. They are literally there as a show of force and nothing else. That's all it is a big gesture. It's a big performance. It's a demonstration. And literally for the cameras. They have people there in uniform. They have walking a beat on foot so that their social media person can film it and they can issue a press release and they could post it on the socials. And that way Carpe Donktum and Cat Turd and DC Drano can retweet it to their idiot followers and defend this ridiculous administration. And they can say, see? It's not a total corrupt disaster. They're doing something. So let's just get it straight. It's totally fake to begin with. They're not even doing anything. And we know that now that it is over. 55 arrests per day?
And then you can just look at the video footage of when they're doing arrests. They'll have like 50 cops come and arrest like 2 guys in an apartment building. It's like, what are you doing at this point? And now they're going to make it so all these other illegals that are around, the quote unquote criminals. So you bust into an apartment and there's 20 illegals, but 2 of them are wanted for criminal charges. So you can't take the other 18. That doesn't make any sense to me.
How many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Somalis live in Minnesota? How many of them are there on TPS? How many of them are there on a temporary protected status technicality that was actually revoked last year? And you're arresting only 55 people per day? There's a lot more than 4,000 illegal immigrants in the city of Minneapolis. It's a big city. That's for openers. So you have this horrific scandal, and it's a layered scandal. It's illegals. They're illegals from Africa. They're Muslim. They're complete aliens and foreigners. Somalia has like the lowest human development index in the world. I think they're like 193rd or 192nd. They're like bottom of the barrel, literally the worst country in the world. They're all here illegally. And
average IQ of like 83, something insanely low like that. Literally the stupidest people on the planet.
And they're stealing. So Trump sends in DHS to pretend like they're doing enforcement. In response to the performance, you have the radical left activated. And I know some people take issue with my use of the phrase radical left, but that's what they are. These are local activist cells. These are local chapters of different groups. They are socialist, they are communist, progressive, far left. And that is the basis under which they're organizing. Like, that's what they are. They are far left, decentralized, networked, extremely organized on social media, funded, some say by billionaires, and I tend to believe that. And so the far left deploys into the city to thwart the deportations. And you've seen this. They're organizing in signal chats. There's some claims that they're working with the government, that the mayor is in on this, that the governor's in on this, that some of the Democrat city machine is in on these activist group chats.
I mean, wasn't it at least the lieutenant governor of Minnesota was in the group chat, and a city councilor as well? That's the 2 that I can think of right off the top of my head.
And they're organizing to basically harass and impede ICE and Border Patrol. And you've seen the videos on social media. They're taking pictures of license plates to identify ICE vehicles. Then they've got spotters placed around the city to look out for the vehicles. And when they see them, they then deploy the activists. And they deploy them in vehicles and on foot to either harass the vehicles, honking the horns, alerting illegals, or they're using their vehicles to box in ICE, or they're on foot getting in the face of ICE agents and physically confronting them, harassing them, impeding their operations, impeding actual arrests and law enforcement duties. And so this is happening now in Minneapolis. Again, layers to it. In response to this, Trump sends in a few hundred National Guard and he beefs up the presence. Initially, there were only a few thousand ICE agents. Trump beefed it up. I think he doubled those numbers, increased them by 50, 100%. And he bolstered that with Border Patrol to deal with the protesters. So you have a small contingent there to make the arrests of the illegals and investigate the fraud. Protesters come out in full force. So then Trump deploys National Guard and Border Patrol to deal with the protesters. Well, the protesters only escalate. The agitators only escalate, and their numbers are growing. And there's these huge protests and huge encounters. And as we all know, what happens next? They start getting killed. Renee Good gets killed. Alex Preddy gets killed. And there's this convulsion across the whole country. You get the wall-to-wall media coverage. There's riots in Minneapolis, huge protests coast to coast. There's this effort on social media unlike anything I've seen since George Floyd.
I mean, Democrats have really taken this energy and ran with it. It's kind of remarkable the comeback that Democrats have made. You do have to look at that and go, They are rebuilding. They are a force to be reckoned with. You should never really underestimate your enemy.
I see people on Instagram posting about, we need to support immigrant voices and we need resources in the community and all that kind of stuff. It all makes a big reappearance. And this is where we are in January. And this is actually the moment of decision, okay? You have to understand, everything is building up to this point. And when I say everything, I mean everything. When Trump ran in 2016, he said, we have an illegal immigration problem. There's way too many of them here. There's way too many coming over. We have an open border. We need to build a wall and kick these people out. And he has fought so hard for 10 years. The election of 16, the impeachments, the fraudulent election in 20, the Stop the Steal, the J6, the indictments, the assassination, elected in 24. It is to deal with this problem. It is to deal with the globalization of our country through population replacement. And so we are here. He runs on a platform of mass deportations to undo the 10 million that Biden brought in. And there's this mandate to achieve it because the problem is so out of control. Trump gets $150 billion, I think it's $190 billion with the big, beautiful bill last year for this purpose, for a wall, for ICE, for deportations, to do this. Okay, so we've arrived. We're here. This is a moment of decision. This is the confrontation. We have fought all this time to get to this point. Elections, impeachments, indictments, prison sentences, censorship, assassinations and assassination attempts.
It's like, bro, they're going to naturalize millions of people once the Democrats get back in, and they're all going to vote Democrat forever. Like, you're never going to be able to win another election ever again.
Appropriations, just to get to this point where the rubber meets the road and ICE is finally going to go into these major cities and start rounding these people up and throwing them out. And as expected, this is not going to happen without pushback. It's not going to be easy. You're not going to deport 20 million people without resistance. You're not going to do the largest deportation operation in U.S. history without encountering some pushback. It's not going to be easy. So here we are. We've arrived. What does Trump do? Well, like always, he completely and totally and unambiguously cucks. He chickens out, surrenders, capitulates immediately. He folds.
And Trump is so fickle. As soon as he sees that, there's people protesting, the media doesn't like it, he just folds. It's so weak.
This was your moment. And by the way, it could be no other way. There is no other way this could go. If you want to deport 10 million people in 4 years, you need to deport thousands and thousands of people every single day. If you're deporting thousands of people every single day, you know what's going to happen? Some people are going to die. It's just the way it is. Thousands of people every day for years. Yes, some people are going to be arrested who are citizens. And it's a big mistake and a misunderstanding, but statistically, it's gonna happen. If you're gonna deport 10 million people, what are the odds that one of them or a dozen of them or 100 of them are gonna get caught up in this accidentally? And so the media is gonna say, due process, Fourth Amendment, out of control, right? It's inevitable. And if they're saying that, and if illegals are being hauled out of their communities, and if there's a huge ICE visible presence in the streets, there's going to be left-wing protests. To get thousands and thousands of people out, you're going to need a ton of cops everywhere, all the time. And they're going to be militarized.
I always think it's funny when people go off like, oh, militarized police, and like the libertarians, they'll always cry about the militarized police. It's like, bro, do you not appreciate aesthetics whatsoever? It's like, let's be good fascists over here. We want a militarized society. Militarism is sick, all right? Like, come on, let's be real. a society based around the military is actually like pretty awesome.
And they're going to be hauling a lot of people out that don't want to leave. So they're going to be crying and screaming and carrying on and resisting. And some of them are going to get their asses kicked. And some of them are going to get separated from their kids. And like I said, some of them are going to be detained improperly or mistakenly. And all of this is going to create resistance. Resistance from the left, which is sympathetic to these people. Resistance from the Democrat machine, which relies on them to harvest votes and other things. Resistance even from the business community, because they rely on these people for cheap labor and for consumption and other things. So, in other words, it could go no way other than this. Then you're going to get massive backlash. You're going to get protests. You're going to get riots. You're going to get agitators attacking ICE. All of this is unavoidable. And what are you going to do to those people? You got to arrest them and kill them. If you have left-wing agitators firebombing ICE facilities, shooting ICE officers with a sniper rifle, boxing them in with an SUV with an AR-15 in your lap, if they're getting in the middle of an arrest, if they're running over an ICE agent with the car, you know what? Yeah, a lot of these people need to be arrested, and some of them, it's unavoidable, they're going to be in an officer-involved shooting. And that's going to provoke more of a response. But this is the fight. There's a word for this. It's called a war.
It's funny, like the Democrats are fighting now one of Schumer's bills to restrict ICE. They want ICE to wear body cams. But we saw from the Black Lives Matter era that they wanted every cop in the nation to wear body cams and to release body cam footage immediately after something happens. And then what did it show everybody? That cops actually have a tough job and that there is actually psychos in the hood that are coming after the cops, trying to kill them. It actually completely turned people's opinions towards law enforcement, pro-law enforcement.
Okay? And war is not easy. War is the highest form of human organization. And this is what it is. Fighting for every inch, every hill, every valley, every river, every choke point, taking land, and you're advancing. And you're going to take shots, and some people around you are going to go down, and there's going to be complications, but you deal with it, and you advance. You always advance. It's a war, and this is what it's going to be. Don't you realize this? You know, there were a lot of people when these protesters got who said, you know, I support mass deportations, but not like this. There's no other way. How would you physically remove 10 million people from this country and not make any mistakes? How would you do it? How would you remove 10 million people without asking somebody, do you speak English?
And man, it's like the way that we're going about it is so much cleaner than, for example, the partition of like India and Pakistan, dude. Like 1 million people died in like basically what essentially is like a mass deportation effort. You know, we're talking like from the Indian side, they literally like a huge conflict broke out. It was a massive amount of people just over like migrating. You know, and so like the way that we're doing it in the West is like actually super duper clean. We are very humane. We're not treating people like they're animals. You know, we're treating them like what they are. They're illegal aliens in the country.
Without accidentally detaining somebody that happens to be a citizen. How do you do this without provoking a left-wing response that is violent? And how do you do that without one of them dying? I mean, you saw those videos of Alex Preddy. This guy was unhinged. He was deranged. He got his ribs broken by ICE. In another altercation, he's flailing around, kicked the taillights out of one of ICE's cars. He got thrown to the ground. This guy was a lunatic. He's there with a loaded gun in his waistband and 2 other magazines in his car. What was he there to do? What are we supposed to do with a guy like that? And it's inevitable that guys like that are going to be created by a policy like this at volume. So this is the fight. And if you're not willing to stomach some agitators, if you're not willing to stomach some brutal tactics to put down these protests, tear gas and riot shields and all that stuff, if you can't stomach family separation, if you can't stomach the militarization of ICE, then you don't want mass deportations. And you know what else? If you don't want mass deportations, then you get a mass amnesty. There's no other option. You either get all of that with mass deportations, and if you don't deport 10 million people, then 10 million people just got an amnesty.
And that's what I love about the Joe Rogan types. They don't see how much of an idiot, like that, their whole sphere just makes them look like idiots. They've told everyone to vote for Trump. Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, Tim Dillon, a bunch of the other clingers on. They all told everyone to vote for Trump because mass deportations need to occur. Remember, like the fear campaign around, New York City, there's, Venezuelan gangs, Tren de Aragua. Everyone's talking about it. And then when we actually push comes to shove and we actually want to do it, you guys are the biggest whiners.
30 million people just got an amnesty. 30, 40, 50 million, however many there are, they just got an amnesty. They just got a free passport to the United States, and their kids won the lottery. Citizenship and a passport, and that is their ticket to our schools and our health care. That is a ticket to our welfare system. That is a ticket to our welfare state, our safety net, voting, all of it. And that's unacceptable. If you amnesty 30 million people, you don't have a country. What right at that point do you have to say that some other foreign national can't come here and overstay their welcome? You can't. You amnesty 30 million people, you don't have a country. You don't have a border. And what credibility do any of the laws have? If 30 million people can come here, they're here illegally, they should be removed, and they're staying against our will. We don't have a country at that point. So this is how it has to be.
And meanwhile, the whole time they're going to call you racist. And by the time that you are replaced, they're going to go, this isn't your country anymore. So it comes in stages. It goes, I'm a minority. And then when it progresses, it goes, you're a racist. And then it progresses even more. It goes, this isn't your country anymore. Then so we're getting to the stage where we're past the you're a racist part. And now people don't really care about that. Now we're at the stage of this isn't your country anymore.
All of this. It's necessary that it's necessary to get to the conclusion to go through these things. The only way out is through all of this. And what does Trump do at the moment of decision? Total surrender. Before Renee Good was even, the White House was talking about recalibrating. Remember? Before Renee Good was even, before her body hit the floor, the White House was talking about changing the strategy and recalibrating and focusing on those so-called criminal illegal aliens. Remember? Then Renee Good got shot, and Trump went on a press conference and said, we're only deporting the criminals. Then the other guy got shot. They relieved Bovino. They pulled out 700 ICE officers. Kristi Noem started talking about body cams. Stephen Miller started blaming everybody else. And it was over. And now they have slow-walked it, but ultimately they are retreating. First they took out Bovino. Then they pulled out 700 guys. They did it in a graduated way over the course of a month. And now in the middle of February, they say the whole thing is over. We're pulling everybody out. What else would you call this other than an utter surrender? This is a total surrender. And I see a lot of Trump supporters saying, no, that's because we won. No, they're not all the ICE agents are leaving. What else would you call this? And how do you think the left interprets this? You have the John Brown Gun Club deploying to Minneapolis. You've got these progressives and communists, DSA. They're all over Minneapolis. They're establishing checkpoints. They're getting in the face of ICE officers, overwhelming them and attacking them.
Because seeing the just absolute jester new Black Panthers who had to rename themselves because the old Black Panthers don't like them. So they came up with some new bogus name that I can't even remember what it is. But the Black Panthers in Minneapolis, they're going around and they're Black Americans and they're socialists, they're communists, and they're going around standing up for these migrants. These are non-Americans, dude. And so it's this cognitive dissonance. It's like, who the hell do you think you are representing Black Americans as Black Panthers? Like, right? Real, even like actual Black communists do not like you. So you had to change your name. And then they're going around and they're have like AKs and like pistols and shotguns, and they're trying to get in the way between Minneapolis police department and ICE. Incredibly dangerous. So don't be surprised if you see one of these jester Black Panthers get into a gunfight with MPD or ICE one of these days.
And ICE makes the announcement, we're leaving. Our commander that everyone hates, he's out. He got sent to some other state. We pulled 700 out 2 weeks ago. Now we're all leaving. What kind of message do you think that sends to the left? Well, it's obvious to anybody who isn't delusional. The message that this sends to the left is that agitation works. If you dox ICE agents, if you attack their cars, if you interfere in their duties, if you riot outside their hotels, if you riot in Target, if you scream in their face, they will leave. If you increase the unpleasantness, if you show up and cause problems, well, the Trump administration has no balls and they will leave. If all you have to do is go out, all you have to do is go out and bang on pots and pans, all you have to do is go out and break the laws, run over some ICE agents, and they will back down. They will retreat. In other words, you will get what you want. Rioting works. You don't like what the government is doing? Just riot and they'll stop. You don't like that the government is deporting illegals? Just riot outside their hotel. Dox them, intimidate them, attack law enforcement, and they will stop the thing that you don't like. They will leave.
I mean, it's a third worldification of our politics when you can just go out, bang some pots and pans, attack just like a building, and people go, well, they won. It's like utter low. I mean, the more you import the third world, the lower IQ the baseline of like just politics gets, and it gets to a point like this where the average person is just so stupid that they think this is like a win.
And do you know what happens when you send that message to the left-wing agitators? They do more of it. They get emboldened. You just taught them something, which is if we riot, we get our way. So what do you think they're going to do more of? They're going to riot more. They're doxing, swatting, attacking Trump administration officials. Stephen Miller has to live on a military base because of the death threats. A lot of them do now. A lot of them need around-the-clock security. ICE agents have to wear masks because they know that if they don't, they're going to get doxed, and left-wing psychos might kill them. And you just taught every left-wing psycho and schizo, every tranny, every wannabe Luigi Mangione, every wannabe Tyler Robinson, hey, it works. Do more of that. The Trump administration will back down. They won. The left won, and Trump let them win. He served it up on a silver platter. He just gave up. And here's the best part. We're in the right. We have the law on our side. Trump is the president. He was elected. He won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College. It wasn't a trick. He won the election on a platform of mass deportations. He won the House and the Senate. It also happens to be the law. He is using law enforcement to physically remove people that are here illegally. So we have everything going for us. You've got the popular mandate. You've got the executive branch. We are right. We have the law on our side. These are cops. This is federal law enforcement. The illegals shouldn't be here, and the agitators can't beat up law enforcement. And we gave up. We could use the law. We could use ICE. We could use the $200 billion for DHS. And we could throw all these people in jail. And we would have every right, and it would be legal. And we have a mandate to do it. We could put these people under the jail if we had the political will. What's stopping us? Not judges, not Democrats, nobody. You've got, how many ICE agents did they hire? 12,000? You got the detention space. You got the budget. Isn't that what the big, beautiful bill was all about? This was a decisive confrontation over mass deportations and against the left, and Trump blinked, and he lost. And what does that say about the country? Who's really in charge here? Well, we just sent the message that the anarchists are in charge. Think about it. Illegals are squatting in our country. The actual native-born citizens and the taxpayers are saying, hey, get the out. You need to leave.
Yeah, you're going to end up like a situation like Paris, where in Paris, it's just constant rioting. They just do it all the time. Antifa is as strong as they can be in somewhere like that, because the liberal politicians, which are, basically the Democrats, for them, they do whatever they want. And then the conservatives over there are insanely cucked, and they just go along with the demands of, quote unquote, the coalitions. It's super cucked.
You don't belong here. You cheated. You cut the line. This is not right. This isn't fair. We have a very generous system. How many immigrants do we allow to come here legally? Through family-based migration, chain migration, refugee program, visa lottery, work visas. This is a very generous nation. You people have no right to be here.
And there is that real divide. I want to make that like absolutely clear, is that like knowing, like, for instance, like people that have fled like ISIS and came here completely legally and are Christian, there are people that and like actually are good citizens and like, actually want to be, part of our civilization, and they do it the legal way. We're not really like, we don't want to come after like those people like at all. You followed the law, like you did what you're supposed to do. And I know, like, from a lot of those people, they absolutely despise the ones that came illegally, the ones that are grifting, the ones that give immigrants a bad name. They hate them. Like, honestly, they hate them more than the native-born population.
You're not refugees. You're not asylum seekers. You're economic migrants. You are here because it is preferable to live in our country that our ancestors built as opposed to your shithole country. Now, that doesn't make you an asylum seeker because you're poor over there. It just means you'd prefer to live here. Well, it's the obligation of our government to protect our stuff and the integrity of our borders and our laws and our quality of life, the order in our society. We go to the illegals and say, hey, get out. Well, they just vetoed that decision. We elected a president to physically remove them, and they vetoed that. No, we're not going anywhere. Again, we have law enforcement. Law enforcement is going in, arresting the agitators, the illegals, the protesters. The agitators are breaking the law. It's disorderly conduct. It's borderline insurrection. They're running checkpoints. They're vandalizing private property. They're assaulting law enforcement, spitting on them, punching them, vandalizing their cars. Once again, who's in control here? We elect a president, even in the other case, to deploy the National Guard to restore law and order in the left-wing cities. In Chicago, in D.C., in New York City, in L.A. What do they do there? They riot. Once again, who's in control? The criminals. The agitators, the communists, the anarchists, the murderers, the burglars, the carjackers. These corrupt Democrat machines. Think about why we're even there. We are there because the Democrat political machine in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, is funneling taxpayer money to this criminal illegal alien population. What a sucker you are. You're a citizen. You were born here. Your ancestors were born here. They built this place. You actually work. You obey the laws. You own a home. You pay your taxes. And the Democrat machines take your taxpayer money that you work for, and they give it to illegal aliens that have no right to be here from shithole countries that hate us so that they can send it home. And then they work with agitators when the government tries to deport those people, and you have a mayor, Jacob Frey, that says, get the fuck out of our city, and the agitators attack the cops. And this is our country now. That's who's in control. That's who's in control in LA, New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, DC. That is who is in control of our country. The homeless, the vagabonds, the burglars, carjackers, murderers, illegal aliens, scammers, fraudsters, corrupt politicians. That is who is in control. And you know, the whole point of electing Trump is that he was going to fight those people.
Yeah, you'd be able to go, oh, well, Trump's in office, so that stupid judge that said, well, that guy that did, attempted murder and he ran somebody over, well, he gets bail. Well, no, he doesn't actually. He gets deported immediately and he can go serve a prison time somewhere else for all I care. We have to go at a certain point and go, none of these little judges, these Democrat judges, really should have any power. I think a lot of them should just be stripped of their power straight up.
On our behalf. Wasn't that the shtick? Fight, fight, fight. Remember that? Remember when Trump raised his fist and said, fight, fight, fight? And they said that 6 million times at the convention. Trump is going to fight. He's our voice. He's going to win for us. Trump is he chickens out. I mean, what do we have to lose here? You want to know why they surrendered and retreated? Because they're worried about the midterms. You want to know why? Because the Chamber of Commerce called up and said, we don't like all these protests in the Target parking lot. We don't like all these protests outside our Marriott hotels. That's why. Because the Republican conference called up and said, hey, we're going to lose the midterms if this keeps up. This is really unpopular. That's why. That's why they're stopping. It is a decision that Trump made. Trump could do it. You're the president of the United States. You won the election. You have the law on our side. He could do it. He won't because he doesn't have it in him. And this loss cannot be overstated. Think about what we're now involved in. Think about what Trump is doing. He's going after his political opponents like James Comey and all these other people. And these executive orders and the things that he's saying.
Bro, do you think going after James Comey is going to save you for what the Democrat Congress, Senate, and executive branch has in store for you once you're out of office, Donald? James Comey has been out. What are you talking about, James Comey?
And the way that they're deploying ICE and doing this performative stuff, look at how much you have pissed off the left. These people are insane. Another tranny shooting in Canada happens all the time now. Tranny school shootings, left-wing trannies assassinating people. These people are emboldened. You got guys like Zohran Mamdani say they want to tax white neighborhoods to pay for free for the poor. You got this guy running in Texas who says it's class warfare against the billionaires. We got to eat the rich. California, they're doing a wealth tax. And I know it's on billionaires and everything, but these Democrats are emboldened. The left is emboldened by what they're seeing, and they don't play. Trump has pissed them off royally. He has challenged them. They are coming back with a vengeance, and now Trump doesn't want to fight. Now Trump is totally caved. Who is going to be left now to pick up the pieces with all these people? When a Democrat wins in 2028 because of all this, what are they going to do to us? Trump is going to be fine. He'll pardon himself. He'll be in Qatar. He'll be in the Middle East somewhere with his family. What are we going to do? Do you know that when a Democrat gets back in, they are going to eradicate ICE? They're going to abolish ICE. They're going to open the borders. They're going to undo everything Trump did, and they're going to go in the complete opposite direction. And this is what I warned you about. These are these second-order consequences that nobody wanted to think about. Remember in 2024, I said that if we elect Trump and he doesn't do these things, if he shits the bed, that he is going to be an albatross and he's going to drag us all down. He's going to get blamed for everything. And we're going to get someone far left in 2028. But everybody said, yeah, but we need to buy more time. And, he's the lesser of two evils. Remember? Nobody wanted to think about that long-term effect. Nobody wanted to think about those second-order consequences.
Or when J.D. Vance was brought in and he said, oh, well, we're going to have a main focus on not mass deporting all illegal aliens, but it's mainly going to be on criminals. Like J.D. Vance was saying that during the vice presidential debate, I should say. And like throughout the entire campaign, J.D. Vance was saying that that's your guy in 2028.
In 2024. But now it's becoming very apparent why a second Trump administration might not have been the best idea. And it's because he hasn't changed. This is the exact same thing that happened 8 years ago. It's identical. It's literally identical. Trump was elected in 2016 on build the wall, deport them all. And he utterly failed. It didn't happen. And he tried, and he backed down. He tried to do family separation, tried to get a border wall. 2018 midterms came around. It got too hot. He backed down. It was obvious that he had not changed at all in 2024. And that's why we're seeing the exact same story play out in 2026. And how do you think this ends, by the way? So Tom Homan has withdrawn us from Minneapolis. That's over. How do you think we're going to get mass deportations now? What does that look like? We deported 230,000 last year. You'd be lucky if you get 1 million total by the end of 4 years. How do you double that number? Well, to double that number, you need twice as many ICE agents, twice as many arrests, twice as many deportations, obviously. How are you going to do that in any major city after this? How do you go into a major city where the illegals are and start rounding them up in much larger numbers than you did last year after what just took place in Minneapolis? It's going to be the same.
You would have to be so overwhelmingly militaristic about it. You would have to really have balls of steel, and you would have to just straight up say, I don't even care what the public thinks at this point. But Trump is not that. He's not that leader. Maybe look beyond the horizon, I guess. We got to find somebody else. You
go into New York, Chicago, LA, Houston, Dallas. It's going to be the same story. You try to get these deportations up, it's going to involve a huge ICE presence that's very visible. The illegals are emboldened. They will resist. The agitators will respond and turn out. It's going to be the same because they know the Trump administration's a joke. So how do you think it's going to happen? It's not. It's done. And they're already telling you that. Tom Homan said we're prioritizing the violent criminals. Trump said violent criminals. They said, why are we leaving Minneapolis? Because the police have made an agreement with us. You know what the agreement is? If a murderer gets arrested and they happen to be illegal, they'll be turned over to ICE. That's the agreement. So this is the end of those mass deportations, which are achieved with sweeping patrols and raids in neighborhoods. And this is the beginning of targeted enforcement. An Obama-era policy where they only go after criminals, or the local police turn over criminals to ICE who happen to be illegal. That's what that is. And as this article says, there's only 700,000 criminal illegal aliens that fit that description. So how are you going to deport 10 million illegals when there's only 700,000 that have committed a crime? And you've probably deported 100,000 of them already.
It's such insanely low numbers when you put it in perspective.
Where are you going to get those numbers from? You're not. And do you know what's going to happen in 2027? It's not going to get better. In 2027, here's a little preview for you. We will lose the House in 2026. Democrats will control the House. In 2027, they will refuse to fund the government unless ICE is severely limited and constrained and restricted. And that will be the end of that. You see, on Polymarket, Democrats have an 83% chance of winning. You look at the generic ballot favorability, job approval, it's absolutely miserable. Democrats are going to capture the House. That is where appropriations bills originate. And in 2027 and 2028, you're not going to be able to fund one agency or department in the government because the Democrats will demand that everything be defunded until ICE is effectively hamstrung and abolished. So you think it's going to get better? It's going to get worse. This mass deportation thing is on hold. It is on an indefinite pause while Republicans try to salvage their party in the midterms. But they're not going to do anything risky or sensational or effective until then. And then you get your lame duck period, the Democrats get seated, and then just like they're doing right now, Democrats are defunding DHS, and they don't even control any chamber. They have a minority in the Senate, and they're using it to defund Homeland Security over this. Wait until they control the House. Wait until they balance it out in the Senate. And they're going to shut this government down. It's going to be subpoenas, impeachments, indictments, select committees. It's going to be government shutdowns until you get sick to your stomach.
I mean, you just had the longest government shutdown in history. They've already set the precedent. They're telling you what they're going to do months ago. They've shown their playbook. Trump is just kind of an idiot. He's just walking into this with no plan really whatsoever.
And that's going to roll right through to 2028. And that is your second Trump administration. Those are your mass deportations. And here's the worst part, totally avoidable. Who do you have to blame? I mean, these people. Tom Homan, Stephen Miller, and Trump. You let us down. You surrendered. You lost. Think about how they played these people up. Stephen Miller is autistically thinking about how to deport more people. Tom Homan is the man. Dude, Tom Homan went to Minneapolis to wrap it up. Trump sent Tom Homan to Minneapolis to facilitate the retreat, to facilitate the orderly surrender of ICE to the communists and the Somali scammers and the illegal immigrants. And that is exactly what happened. I don't want to hear anything different from the plan trusters. That is exactly what happened.
I mean, Tom Homan did the exact same thing back when the kids in cages thing happened. And Trump called him up and was like, yeah, we got to stop this.
They went in there because of the YouTuber. They went in there because of Nick Shirley to deport the Somali scammers. They decisively lost. And Tom Homan was deployed to facilitate the orderly surrender of the city to the Democrat mayor, to Tim Walz, to the Somalians, to the illegals, to the Democratic Socialist hicklibs. And that is what has happened. And they have nobody to blame but themselves. You can't blame the Democrats. You can't blame Biden. You can't blame anybody. That's on you. That's on Stephen Miller. That's on Kristi Noem. That's on Tom Homan. And ultimately, that is on Donald Trump because the buck stops with him. It comes from the top. You can't blame bad advisors or bad personnel because he hired all of them. That is Trump's fault. And I don't know why anybody would vote for Republicans in 2026. I don't know why anybody would even bother showing up because what are we getting out of it? They said mass deportations to trick you into voting for them. They had no intention of doing it, and now they're letting us down. No mass deportation, we're staying home in the midterms. Forget it. How could you even have the audacity to ask Republicans to turn out when you have buried the Epstein files, we are on our way to bomb Iran a second time, and you have surrendered Minneapolis to the Somalian scammers? Why would anyone pay taxes for that matter? Think about how raped we are as a people. How raped can you possibly be? This is our country. We were born here. Our ancestors built it. We have citizenship. We obey the laws. We pay the taxes. We own the property. And you have illegal Muslim Africans scamming the government out of money. The Democrats are in on it. And if we try to fix the problem, they riot and ICE just walks away. They just walk away.
Yeah, you're going to get more of it. Prepare for real big cities, not just Minneapolis, but prepare for this in New York City, Chicago, anytime somebody, or LA, anytime that, ICE or DHS wants to deport people, it's going to be even crazier than what you saw in Minneapolis, for sure.
When these degenerate freaks like Alex Preddy, who, I'm glad he's, when Alex Preddy, this psycho deranged maniac, goes to confront ICE and dies in the process, and the left is rioting, Trump and Border Patrol and ICE, they just walk away. They just give it to him without a fight. And you go and vote for more of it. You go and vote for more of that. I don't do it. I don't do it. I have some pride. People say lesser of two evils. I have some pride. I'm not going to vote for somebody to say they're going to fight for me and then surrender to my enemies. I'm not going to affirm that. I'm not going to positively affirm that. You don't get my vote. You don't get my vote of confidence after that. And that's exactly what took place here. And pay attention. All these people that are making excuses, make a mental note, because they are going to expect you to eat again and again and again. The same people that you see on Twitter that are trying to spin this, the same people that you see on Twitter that are trying to pretend like this isn't a surrender, they're saying, actually, it's a win. Actually, Trump bent Tim Walz over. Anybody that is saying that, make a mental note, because the only reason they're saying it is because they are being paid under the table by the GOP, and they're going to try to get you right back on the hamster wheel in 28, and they're going to get you to eat all over again.
I mean, how pathetic do you have to be to really think that this is administration and the continuation in JD Vance is going to be like the golden era, that we are in a golden era, anything like that? You have to be completely retarded, in my opinion.
You think it'll be different with JD Vance? Why would it be different? He's the vice president. Why would it be different? And by the way, where is JD, huh? Where is our guy, JD? Isn't it funny how JD, our guy that's just like us, that plays Halo, the kind of guy that would order pizza with you and drink Code Red. You ever notice that JD is always there throwing himself in front of the cameras when it's something that the base likes? Like when Charlie Kirk died, he was all over the funeral, and he was on the Charlie Kirk show. Remember that? Whenever it's a photo op for one of these issues that the base likes, he was at the Turning Point convention, JD is there. But when the Epstein files are being buried, where's our guy? I thought the posters were in control. I thought the frogs were in control. Where's our guy, JD? Where's our based vice president that follows all of the edgy accounts on Twitter? Where is he? When the trafficking ring is being covered up by his president, by his boss. Where's JD when ICE is retreating from Minneapolis and giving the city to the anarchists and the communists? Where's our guy now? Is he only there when there's a photo op? Is he only there when he can make a pitch to the base for the 2028 Republican primary? Because when this administration's crashing and burning, he's very careful about not being anywhere in proximity then. Very careful not to appear. He's not really working behind the scenes, not really in front of the camera either. Where's our guy? Where's Stephen Miller? Where's JD? Where are these people? Where are all these based people that are going to run our government for us because Trump is out to lunch? Where are they? Stephen Miller is okay, and he knows that, and you may not care about that, but he cares about that. You may think it's arbitrary. He doesn't. Okay, and JD Vance is whatever they need him to be.
I mean, JD Vance, obviously, he's married to an Indian woman, dude. His kids are Indian, and they have Indian names. One of his sons' names is literally Vivek, all right? He is a college roommate of Vivek Ramaswamy, who is pro H-1B visas and stapling green cards to H-1B visas that you could possibly be. So no, of course, the guy with the Indian best friend and the Indian wife, of course he's not against mass deportations.
When JD,
or sorry, I should say against, of course he is not enforcing mass deportations.
he thought that Trump was going to lose, he was a never Trumper. And when he thought that Trump was going to fail, he was calling Trump a Nazi on CNN. And when it became apparent that he was going to need Trump's endorsement, suddenly he was at NatCon, which is going to be in Jerusalem this year, by the way. And now he's a national conservative. He's whatever they need him to be. Look at where he comes from. Nothing. Fake career, fake everything. He is a puppet of Peter Thiel. He is a puppet of Elon Musk. He is a puppet of these people. Everybody that's trying to tell you, base JD, base Stephen Miller. Them, Stephen Miller and Vance and Tucker Carlson. Tucker says Vance is so great. Hey, explain this one, man. Tucker is going to be right out there shucking and jiving. His son works for JD. Tucker had him on his show 46 times, I think. I lost count. These people are not going to take us to the promised land. It is a Pied Piper effect. I'm so sick of it, I can't even tell you. It is ridiculous. We should be winning. Shouldn't we? Don't you think? When do we get the winning? I remember we were going to get bored with winning. You're going to win so much. 10 years. People say it's only been 1 year. 10 years. Trump came down the escalator in 2015. It's been 10 years. Actually, when are we going to start winning? How many people need to get shot in the face? Charlie Kirk got shot in the face. Whatever happened to that? Trump got shot in the head. How many J6ers went to jail? How many people lost friends or a job because of the vax mandate, because you wore a MAGA hat? How many people got censored or lost their business or got debanked? To give up? We come all this way and this is what we have? You just surrender? Tom Homan goes up and says, well, we can, and he's so smug. Well, we concluded our operation. Really, man? You. What a joke. We need just like a straight up MAGA insurrection. Full-fledged, this movement. Seriously. People need to make it clear. We are not happy. You can't cross us on everything. We are reasonable. We understand that politics is tricky, but you can't us on everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally getting absolutely nothing for voting for these guys. Trump is just a average Republican at this point. He's not going to do anything. He's not doing anything awesome. He's not doing anything cool at this point. Why do you even like him at this point?
On Epstein, on Ukraine, on Iran, on AI, on deportations, on H-1Bs, on student visas. You can't f us on absolutely everything. And they're stealing, and they're corrupt, and they're stealing. Kristi Noem is running around with her boyfriend, allegedly, Corey Lewandowski, and they're stealing. On top of it, they're stealing with Trump coin. They're stealing with all these scams they're putting out there. And at what point are people going to have enough? At what point have people had enough of that? We have to stop being gaslit by these anonymous suckers on Twitter. Laser eyes emojis, smug idiots, Jack Posobiec types. Are we trusting the plan? No, there is no plan. Obviously, there is no plan. Where's our border wall? There is no plan. Where's our mass deportations? Where's our no new wars? Where's the infrastructure bill? Where's the middle class tax cut? Where is this stuff? Now they're going to say, well, we need to get this SAVE Act passed. You know that's not going to happen. You know it's not. The Democrats have 47 seats. How are you going to get it through? You can't use budget reconciliation. They say, well, we need the SAVE Act. You know how to do it. Get rid of the filibuster. So, they're going to pretend like they're going to do it. They're going to pretend like they're trying to. They're not doing anything. They know it's not going to happen. And they don't care. There's no urgency. They don't even care. They're not even trying. It is an elaborate performance. And that is why we have to burn it all down. Do you understand now? Are you getting it now? They said I was crazy in 2024. Now you understand this is why we have to burn it all down, all of it. MAGA, the Republican Party. We need something so radical and so extreme that it makes MAGA and Donald Trump look like a joke. You understand? We need something that is actually serious. It's not some billionaire that was on Epstein Island and he brings in Steve Mnuchin and Scott Bessent and all these people. We actually need the real deal now. You thought you were afraid of right-wing populism before. We need real right-wing populism, not a cynical demagogue exploiting the energy of right-wing populism. We need a real right-wing populism. I don't think you're going to like it. It's going to be cruder and uglier. It's going to be brutal. And that's what needs to happen. We tried. You thought Trump was the burn it all down candidate. You haven't seen that yet. Trump is an accommodationist. Trump has no ideology. Trump is hollow.
I mean, Trump is a super agreeable type of person. He really goes along with whatever his personal agenda actually will afford him, because at the end of the day, he's making calculations based off of what is good for him. And the average person is not thinking like that. They think that he is, oh, well, he's doing what is good for the country, what he thinks is good for the country. He's like, no, dude, he is concerned about what happens when he leaves office and the Democrats come after him. Where is he going to be? Like, where is he going to get his money from? Like that kind of stuff.
And they wouldn't let us deport the criminal illegal aliens. It just needs to get more serious. So don't tell me, well, we need to hold the line. Look at how that has turned out. We tried that. Hold the line. We have to try it once more. We need Republicans to win. Like, why? Literally, why? Look at who controls Minneapolis. Look at who controls LA, Chicago, New York. Does it make a difference whether it's a Republican or Democrat in charge? It doesn't. I mean, it literally doesn't. So that's the capitulation, Minneapolis. It's so serious. It's such a problem. And they just failed. It's like with COVID. Trump could have kept the country open. He failed. He chose not to. He invented the vaccine. BLM. Trump could have put down the BLM riots. He decided not to. He thought it would help him in the election if it went on longer. Every opportunity, we have our guy in the White House and he just stands down. We need someone in the White House that is not going to do that. We need a Caesar. We don't need someone that's playing around in the Rubicon, We need someone that's going to cross the Rubicon. You understand the significance of this? We actually need a real leader that is going to cross the Rubicon. We need someone that is going to bring the army into America and crush these people before they can crush us. Not someone that's going to, dip their toe in the water and say, oh man, well, we might do the Insurrection Act. We might deploy the National Guard. We're going to deploy 100 National Guard until they ask us to leave, and then we'll say mission accomplished. Someone needs to go all the way. Because clearly, we have some severe problems, and it's just not being fixed. So it's a complete disaster. I'm completely vindicated. And like I said, you need to feel angry. You should be angry. We won. You voted for this, and this is what you're getting. Your tax dollars. You're paying taxes, and they're being given to Somalians. Illegals. There's no law and order. You pay a speeding ticket from a camera. Meanwhile, Antifa is punching a cop in the face and they get away with it. I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, that's the insurrection part. Is there has to be an actual protest part. You actually have to make your voice heard. And by that, I mean, there's various ways.
We stand up and their game is over. You understand that, right? The white man stands up and their game is over. We already live in a country where blacks and Hispanics and shithead white liberals, they already don't contribute. They already don't obey the laws. They're already a drain on society. They're counting on white people to be well behaved. They're counting on white people to be good little worker ants and go to work and pay your taxes and don't fight with the cops and vote Republican. They're counting on that. We stand up, the game is over. We start acting like they act, it's over. That's all I'm saying. Take your own side. Understand your power. Your power is in your vote, your dollar. You're a man. You're a human being. I mean, are we going to let our country go without a fight? Look at it. So anyway, that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say about all this.
It's the most important thing, guys. You got to fight for your country. No matter what little thing you got going on in your life where you're like, oh man, well, you know, I can just put it off. It's like, no, this is actually the thing that matters the most, because the thing that you want to do to put this off, you won't be able to do in the future. All right. You won't be able to have your hobby. You won't be able to have, you know, your fun time or whatever. You won't be able to have whatever your little, even like whatever your vice is, you know? So whatever that is, you're not going to be able to have it. So think about that, actually, you know? How about you get out there and actually do something to actually help your country, and take whatever form that takes, you know? But that's up to you. That's up to you to decide, guys. Next video, like and subscribe. I'm out for tonight. Peace.